This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.
Welcome to What's News Dunedin, brought to you by Hazur Kebab, the radio show that spawned from the 21,000 plus strong local Ōtepoti Dunedin What's News Dunedin Facebook group. The group that's been put in the social back in the social media since 2020, with respect for adult debate and a sense of humour. I'm your host, Richard Knights. On today's show, we're talking to our wonderful guest, Jen Olsen from Climate Liberation Aotearoa, who will be telling us a bit more about themselves and what they do, as well as helping us look back at the posts that have generated some of the most interactions over 2025 during this Christmas period. So those posts this week are the new school lunches debacle and how that's rolled out over the last 12 months. Hundreds of us protesting New Zealand's first proposed bill to define men and women on their sexual biology, a bill that was subsequently dropped, and that was back in May this year, and a return of international flights to the Gold Coast from Dunedin International Airport. Welcome, Jen.
Oh, thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on the show. Now, before we get started on the newsy type stuff, we do have our pun of the week. Now, that's we have that on a Monday on the What's News Dunedin Facebook group, and basically we just see who gets the most laugh reacts, and then that comes on the show with me on Friday, and then we get to see whether it's as funny off the page as it is on the page, right? Uh-huh. So this happens to be my wife's joke. So there's no pressure to laugh at this, right? I mean, I've already laughed at it, so I'm okay. I'm in the clear, right? And it's a Christmas one. So how does good King Wenceslas like his pizza?
I don't know, Richard. How does good King Wenceslas like his pizza?
Deep pan, crisp and even. See, I quite like that.
I do.
It works quite well. And just to get you warmed into the show, we have three pop questions, right? So these are questions I ask all my guests, and basically just hopefully gives our listeners a little bit of an understanding about who Jen Olsen is, the human being, right? So, first question: cream teas, where you have a scone, where you have jam, where you have cream. What goes on first, the jam or the cream? Oh,
we know it's the jam, don't we? And I'm with you on the scone thing as well.
Absolutely,
yep,
But
absolutely.
The last few weeks I've been getting called up on mine. It was going scone. And I'm going, no, it's a scone.
But you know what? I've been in New Zealand 35 years and I've been taken over and I've gone into a cafe and I've asked for a cheese scone. Oh. And oh my goodness.
Yeah. I get confused sometimes because like one of those things like with I always say data. And then, but of course, over here everyone says data, and I'm like, there's no R in data. There's no R in data.
But it should be data for the English, because if you think data, now that's the character on Star Trek Next Generations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Data. So data is the American pronunciation. Well, data is the British.
I still think data, like, because data is always what I've said. And like, let's not even get into like some of the stuff that when I got here I got into serious trouble with because of the fact I'm from an IT background, and those things that you plug your broadband into, right? Where I came from. You call them routers here. Oh, right. But of course, that's not a router. It's a router. And then people go, that's rude. And they go, well, I didn't even know what was going on. Anyway, you got the first question right. That's the only question you can get wrong on my show. So that's you're off with flying colours. Second question though, who is your favourite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
I knew this one was coming, and I'm too old. I never watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. No, my son did.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his favourite one is, so I'm really sorry.
They're all Renaissance painters. So you've got Raphael, Leonardo, Michelangelo and Donatello. So you can pick one.
Oh, Donatello?
Easy. There's no wrong answer for the turtles. That's the beauty of the turtle question. You can't get it wrong. Now, the third one is a thinker. So have a thinker. So you don't have to answer this one straight away. You have a little bit of time to think on this one. Would you rather fart every time you laugh or burp every time you cry?
Oh, I think burp every time I cry, because I would laugh more often than I cry, hopefully.
That's the reason I'd go with that as well. Yeah. You know, like my family would tell me I already burped too much, but like if I, it's like burping if I cried, that would happen less in any given day. I mean, don't get me wrong, I cry most days, but I laugh a lot more during the day, So I think I'd go with you on that one, because otherwise it would just be just be Fart City in my head.
Yeah, but it would give people an extra laugh, wouldn't it, if you did that?
Well, absolutely. Well, people would just wonder where I was hiding the trombone. I think the thing is just like, I think that was what it was. I was a sort of mobile trombone player, because I'm always having a laugh at some point.
Yeah.
So that's cool. They're the warm you up questions.
Okay.
So, but now we're going to talk about some of the news that's happened over the last 12 months, and one of the big news stories for 2025 was David Seymour and ACT, and I hate how much news he's had in the last 12 months. Well, in the last 2 years, to be fair. But one of his what I would call his big debacles was the school lunch program, which was all part of the coalition agreement that came through. But at the same time, he was determined to do school lunches better and cheaper, and then basically give that sort of contract to someone like Compass, who I think Compass ended up doing it. And there's been uproar all year. And even to the point, like we're talking about months along down the line, even in December it's been in the news. So it's one of those ones that I just keep looking at, and I just can't. That program had a very specific purpose, and that was to feed tamariki that were struggling to get regular meals at home, right? So there's something like 20% or 25% of children in New Zealand go without at least one meal a week. All right.
Yeah.
So this program, which was brought in on the previous government, was designed to at least give those children a substantial lunch.
Nutritious meal every day.
A nutritious meal every day. So at least they got one. Because there are actually many families, parents, and this cost of living crisis has been escalating for a good few years, that are going without food regularly in order that their children eat. Right. So that's a horrible situation. But David Seymour, in his wisdom, came out and produced what I can only describe as slop in a metal container. And said that he's doing better than previous.
Oh, look, I just can't agree with that at all. You know what I mean? It's just, and what's so sad about it as well is that the previous scheme was using local providers.
Yes,
and it was providing work locally. The lunches were good quality. They were getting to school on time. They were the right temperature. They weren't either cold or too hot.
Yep.
And. Yeah, and by replacing that with one corporate managed company, and this is similar to what happened at Dunedin Hospital with the hospital dinners a little while ago, a number of years ago, that at that time as well was rejected locally, is that you just cannot keep up the same quality when you're mass producing meals in another town and shipping them down. It doesn't work. And as you say, they were designed to be a nutritious meal. I've seen nothing in the. I mean, obviously, I've only seen the worst pictures, obviously, because they're the ones that make media, right? So we'll cut them a little bit of slack in that regard. They're not all the meals. Hopefully, don't look like that. But what I've seen does not look edible, let alone nutritious, let alone good for someone. And you get more people not choosing to take the meal, and because of the fact that it's nasty, I mean, I'll eat most things, Jen. I mean, I'm run by my stomach, and there's not many things that I won't sort of eat, especially if I'm hungry. But kids aren't like that. Kids will quite happily push back a meal and go hungry because they don't like what's being put in front of them. And there's nothing, and you eat with your eyes, right? I mean, I say this to my family and my wife all the time. You eat with your eyes, because if it looks rubbish, it automatically, mentally, it tastes rubbish, and these meals look awful. There's more food waste with this. Children aren't getting what they need. I mean, it really makes a difference to a child's education whether they do get a good lunch.
Absolutely.
And so, that was one of the huge benefits that they were seeing.
A well-fed mind is a mind that will take in information
that
and
they can concentrate. And.
Yeah, if you're worried about your stomach rumbling, it's not going to. You're never going to. You're not going to be paying attention in class, are you?
But this wasn't about producing quality meals. This was about saving money and giving another contract to a large corporation rather than having
jobs for
small
mates, isn't it?
locally. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
small local organisations providing the food.
And there were some stories about like school communities and like, you know, especially in some of those smaller areas, where there was actually like there was almost a whole industry that was kind of happening around those school meals and it was generating like community and so it was going beyond, you know, the social impact was actually going beyond just giving good food to kids to make sure they're not starving.
Well, and another thing was that the local groups were actually taking the meals to the classrooms and making sure that things were set up so that it didn't actually make extra work for the teachers.
Yeah.
But what they found with these compass meals is that they're just dumping the whole lot at the gate and then expecting the teachers and school staff to sort out which meals are going where, you know, deliver them out and give them to the kids. So it's actually made more work for already overworked school staff just to deliver it.
And there is basically they're struggling with that enough work anyway. Ultimately, and that's the difference, isn't it? I mean, it's like, you know, everyone thinks teach have an easy life, right? It's my brother used to work for he worked for a bank for years and years and years, and he got to, I wouldn't say it was a midlife crisis, but he kind of had a moment where he was like, I'm fed up with this corporate, the corporate turnaround and stuff. I want to go and teach. Left the bank, went and did his teaching degree, and did all his did all his study, and he genuinely was an awesome teacher. But he did it for 2 years, and he was like, "This is impossible. You know, it's just so much." And he was doing that whole 16-hour days at banks, and he felt like that was an easier job, and he went back to it. You know, because actually teaching is not.
It's not an easy job.
It's not a walk in the park. I don't think I could do it.
Anyone who knows a teacher knows what hard work it is. And anyone who works with kids, and I've worked with kids in my job too, just the whole thought of spending the whole day with a room full of them, oh my goodness,
it's hard.
Yes,
I mean,
that's not easy.
I live in Brighton, and Big Rock Primary School is down the bottom of my road, and I drive down there all the time, and I'm coming to work, and the first person there in the morning is the principal. And he's there like long before the school opens. Like he's there at 7:30 earlier in the morning, and then, you know, as I'm driving home, his car's still there.
Yeah,
you know, and then they go home and do other work as well. I mean, it is not for the faint-hearted. No. And then the government goes, well, and by the way, just hand out some lunches as well while you're at it. It doesn't seem fair in any way, shape, or form, does it?
No, it's not.
Right, well, let's move on to the next topic. And we're going back to May now, May 2025. And there was a lot of us. I don't know if you were there, but I certainly was. There was hundreds and hundreds of us that gathered in the Octagon to protest Winston First. New Zealand First. I call him Winston First because I think it's only there for him. And they had a proposed bill in the biscuit tin or whatever it is they put about defining men and women on their sexual biology, right? So this is cisgender, heterosexual, white men and women trying to define our trans whānau, our rainbow whānau, by some very basic biological standards, when actually all the experts and the science says that actually it's a far, far more complicated and more complex issue than just man and woman.
Yeah.
And we came out in force. Like, we genuinely, the rainbow whānau in Dunedin, Aotearoa, came out in force on that day. It was super busy, and we stood up against that abhorrent behaviour. Only for them to subsequently take it out of the biscuit tin just to slide another piece of strange legislation in a bit later on in the year. But what it did say to me was that we have such a strong community presence here in Dunedin.
We do, don't we? I mean, Dunedin is a very progressive city.
Yes.
And it's great to see that level of support. Yeah, I really think so.
Was that one of the ones you were at? I know you got a lot of protests. I don't know if you went to that one or not.
Oh, do you know, I can't remember whether I did or not, to be honest.
Well, they must all blur into one for you, the amount that you turn up for.
Well, I try to get to as many as I can.
Yes.
But I live out of town, so it doesn't always happen.
I'm the same. It's always. I always like see the notices come up, and I'm like, I'm 20 minutes out of town, and it's like starting in 10 minutes, and I'm like, that's another one. That's another one I missed, but I would have been. But I'm there in spirit. You know?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I definitely support that. I mean, we don't want to go back to the 19th century. You know, for goodness sake, I thought we'd had these discussions about tolerance for people's differences and understanding that we don't all fit into that narrow, family first agenda, whatever it is that they're trying to push.
And we don't, and that's a bigger conversation in itself, I suppose, because like even amongst like me, I'm a outwardly looking white male, right, heterosexual. That's my choice, all right. But even if you stood all of us white heterosexual males next to each other, we're all instantly on a spectrum of difference anyway, you know, and there just seems to be, there's a certain sort of segment of society that doesn't seem to even understand that basic, you know, and then when you start throwing in your non-binary and your lesbian and your gay and all the other bits, they just literally lose their minds. There seems to be an absolute, like, it's almost a shutdown. They're so frightened by what can be the fact that someone might be different or might be attracted physically to someone else. I don't know whether they think it's. I don't know if they think it's a fear that there might be something be attracted to them or something. Because I don't know.
No, it is. I think you're right. It's fear. It's a fear-based thing. But I think because they haven't perhaps looked at their own values and what it is that they really feel, you know, where their real values are, that they're just fearful of anyone that appears to threaten this established status quo as they see it. And that is a very old-fashioned kind of attitude, you know.
And that's what we've seen from this government, though, haven't we, over the last couple of years, and I'm hoping they don't make it through the election next year. But it is old-fashioned. It is it's a very regressive way of looking at the world. It's a very conservative. It's far more conservative than I've ever seen a government in the 15 years that I've been in New Zealand. And we've had all flavours so far. We've had, with that flip flop between National Labour, which goes on forever, which seems a fairly pointless way of actually going about government. But I'm used to that from the UK as well, where it does exactly the same bloody thing. But it's a very conservative, very small-minded, very kind of...
Well, it's regressive, isn't it?
It's an exclusionary way of talking and dealing with people, which I just find very strange. I mean, you know, I'm a 50-something plus year old bloke, right? You know, you'd kind of almost put me in the same age as some of these politicians, and in fact, I'm older than some of these politicians that are showing these very backwards, regressive mannerisms and ways about going about their life, and I don't understand it because, like, you know, I wouldn't exactly call my mum and dad kind of like the, you know, sort of like the great progressors or anything like that, but they just taught me to love people. Like, they just taught me to accept someone for who they are and love people for what they are, and or dislike people for what they are as well. But it wasn't based on a prescribed, you know, their sexuality or the colour of their skin or how many toes they had on one foot, or it was basically it was on a case by case basis. So if I'm going to not like you, Jen, it's because I don't like you, Jen the person, not because you're of a particular ethnicity or anything like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. I think that I mean, we're looking at perhaps a different thing with the government than we are the sort of the social movement, but I mean, the government appear to be regressive because they are actually just looking after a small elite within society. Yeah. And so they're actually just trying to go back on a lot of changes that have happened over the years that have opened up society a bit more. But in terms of... oh gosh, I've lost my train of thought for a moment there.
That's all right.
Yeah,
happens to the best of us, Jen. Like, I'm exactly the same, and so, but I hear what you're saying. It's they want to wind everything back because it seems easier than actually pushing anything forward. If you're always looking backwards, it's kind of almost like you don't have to think of anything new, do you? Do you know? It's just go back to the old way of doing it.
No, it's fear of change.
Yes,
you know, and I mean, we're at a time, I think, in society where we do really need to look at some changes. Things aren't working well the way they are.
Yeah.
Climate-wise, I mean, you will know what's going on. We're destroying the planet that we live on.
I know. We've moved on, haven't we?
Political system is destroying us, and we've moved on. That's right. But the politicians are lagging behind. They're still trying to protect the status quo because it looks after them and their friends.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like, I mean, capitalism might have worked, or industrialism might have worked in the 1900s and the 1800s, but we're on a world, we're on a climate trajectory that has moved beyond those things.
Yeah, well, we now understand the damage that we were doing. They didn't, absolutely. But we now do.
But we've not adapted our way of. We are really struggling to adapt our way of living and our way of governing on the back of some very strong science. Yeah.
That's right. The science tells us what we need to do. Oh, yeah, that's right. I just remembered what I was going to say about the kind of the gender issues. And that is that a lot of this stuff gets thrown out by these very people just to obfuscate the issues and distract us into some arguments which we needn't even be having. Yeah. As you say, we can accept people as they are, but we can't accept the political system as it is. No. That is what needs to change. We don't need to be arguing about, who people choose to spend their lives with. That is up to them.
Exactly. And I don't see why it's so important to people who are allowed within normal societal norms to choose who they spend their life with. Why is it always the people that are in the accepted circle? If they're looking at the Venn diagram, this is the societal norm on the left-hand side here. Why are they the people choosing for the other people? They get to choose for themselves and for the people that they deem to be different. And the people that they deem to be different don't seem to have any say in it. That, to me, just does not make any sense whatsoever.
But when you look at those sort of regular people, they are ones who are doing okay in the system as it is. They want to support that in any way that they can.
And protect that.
And protect it. And when you look at people who are outside of those accepted norms, quite often they are disadvantaged people. And they are people who understand that the system needs to change. Yep. So, I think there's...
And that's why they don't want. That's why they don't want to give it a voice because of that. And that leads us very nicely into the third topic of the week, which is the return of international flights from Dunedin to the Gold Coast to Dunedin International Airport. Now there was a very big campaign by a young lad.
Yes,
I think Ben was his name. I could be wrong. Ben, if it's not your name, I apologise. I sometimes forget my own children's name, so it's nothing personal.
I'm sure you don't.
I've got Arthur, Geraldine, and I know many places. I do know my kids' names. So, big campaign during the year, and ultimately it resulted in whether it was off the back of that campaign or not, I don't know, but it certainly got a lot of media airtime. That we've ended up with flights back. So we used to have flights from Virgin. Virgin used to do flights from Brisbane to Dunedin prior to COVID. COVID came along and knocked the bottom out of a lot of international travel, rightly so. I don't think many of us wanted to travel at that point either, and it became a necessity for some. But then it's taken years and years and years, and then we finally got flights back from Jetstar are running a service now which runs from the Gold Coast, and I'm not sure, I can't even say the name of the airport, but it starts with an O, I think, to Dunedin. I don't know how I feel about that. Like genuinely, my family lives halfway around the world, right? So I'm definitely not against getting on a plane and flying somewhere, but I'm also very conscious of my environmental impact when I travel. I've got 2 electric cars now because of the fact that I don't want to be buying fossil fuel. I haven't paid for fossil fuel in over a year now, in over 12 months, and I'm very pleased that I'm doing my bit. I recycle everything I possibly can, right? So I reuse everything I possibly can. I hate seeing stuff going into landfill. International flights, my family lives in the UK, so have I flown back to the UK during the time that I've been here? Yes, I have. Do I fly back every week? No, I don't. Do I fly back occasionally? Yes, I do. I understand, have I been to Australia? Have I flown out of Dunedin to Australia? Yes, I have. Have I done it often? No, I haven't. But I don't know how I feel about it. Like, genuinely, I can see there's a need for it in the sense of a want. People want it.
It's a want, not a need, though, isn't it?
Absolutely. It doesn't stop me whether those flights are there or they're not. It doesn't stop me getting to Australia because I can go a different route. So see what I'm saying? I can go a different route and still get to the same location. Does it encourage more people to fly?
Well, I think it does. Yeah, I mean, as a climate activist, I'm opposed to it.
Yeah,
and not because I don't want people to go and visit their family in Australia, because I think going to visit your family occasionally, that's something different from going on a holiday overseas that is causing a large amount of emissions, and that, I'm sorry to say, we're going to have to cut down or stop altogether if we want to stop global warming. This is it. The international tourist industry is not a sustainable thing. It's a climate emergency.
It is.
A bunch of us went down to the airport wearing these T-shirts.
Yes.
And walked around there just saying, it's a climate emergency. What are you doing? Sadly, people do want to do it. Well, they do. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to the Gold Coast in the Dunedin winter? But this is just one of the things that we're going to have to really think seriously about.
We need to start making better choices, right? Because that's what we were talking about in the previous topic, is that the science is quite clear. The planet is burning, right? The people go, you're being overly dramatic. And
not at all.
But you're not. You look at the temperatures coming out of Australia. Look at the fact that we've just recorded our hottest December or November, November, or hottest spring. Sorry, I think that's what they've said recently.
Since records began.
Since records began, and you kind of go like, I didn't come to New Zealand to be like, burnt to death in hot sun or anything like that. That's not the reason I'm here. I came because it's a great place to be. But if the world is changing, and it is changing, and it's not changing for the better, because we are making a direct impact on our climate with the way that we are behaving, surely we have to start making better choices. Yeah. And in my mind, we have to be led by our leaders, by the people we supposedly look up to help us in those decisions, right? Because you mirror, your kids mirror good behaviour from you, right? They also mirror bad behaviour from you. So if we're going to mirror good behaviour, we have to, try and...
Yes, it would be nice to get some good examples, wouldn't it, from our leaders? Yeah,
absolutely.
But unfortunately, we have leaders that put so-called economic growth above anything else. Yeah. And that is actually taking us in quite the wrong direction.
And it's short-term economic growth as well, because the way I look at it is if the planet starts burning more and we've got to now suddenly remediate that impact, it's going to ultimately cost us far more money. So any economic gain is very short-term and very short-sighted.
Yeah, that's right.
Because ultimately, we're going to be spending far more fixing what we're not trying to fix right now.
The insurance companies are coming out and saying that. They're recognising it. Yeah.
And they make money from it. That's the crazy thing, right? It's almost like, even the insurance companies that are there literally to screw us over, like genuinely, and make money from the fact that hopefully nothing happens to the belong. That's their model, right? They take a punt on whether I want to get broken into, whether my house burns down, and they kind of go, right.
Probably not. So I'll probably get to keep the money.
So I'll keep the cash, right?
They're getting worried now because they're seeing that actually they're going to have to start paying out more than they've got even.
Yeah, exactly.
And places are going to become uninsurable. And what happens then? People can't sell their houses and buy a new one because without insurance, the bank won't lend you any money.
So the economic cycle drives down. So suddenly there's no
all
more...
these things are going to come to pass. This government is so short-sighted.
I mean, let's not beat about the bush. It's not just this government either, though. It's been previous governments too, right? So there's whilst this one is clearly anti-science, anti any kind of progress, it's not like Labour before them were flying the flag of green, and protecting the environment. But they were markedly better
And we've got an unfortunate international situation where the United States is setting the worst possible example.
Yes.
And I think a lot of kind of right-leaning politicians around the world are taking their cue from that and thinking, well, if he can get away with it, so can I.
Yeah.
Which is nuts, really.
It is, especially when America puts itself up as being like the world leader.
Yes,
don't get me wrong. They created their own pedestal and they put themselves on it themselves. You know, it wasn't like the world put them there.
Yeah.
They decided that they were just better than everybody else. But it is frightening that so many people look at that and go, "Well, that's a good example of what we should be doing." Because sitting there in the cheap seats, it's not a show that I'd pay to see.
No.
You know?
I mean, New Zealand could be actually setting a really good international example.
We have done in the past.
Yes, exactly. We've done it over going nuclear free.
Yep.
You know, we've many things. First country to give women the vote.
We almost did it about going smoke free.
Yeah.
And then this government
have gone back on it.
Going back and started giving Philip Morris $200 million just to pay for a product that doesn't even sell in this country, which is just absolutely mental.
Yes, I mean it's not that we can't afford it; it's the choices that they make. They choose to give billions of tax refunds to landlords, tobacco companies.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever. They let farmers off the hook, you know, and I support farmers. Of course, we need them, you know, we need them for food. But they knew 20 years ago that farming was going to have to take part in the emissions trading scheme. And yet they've just pushed it further and further out.
Yeah, so they don't have to deal with it.
Letting them off the hook, yeah. So they don't have to actually make the changes that they know are needed.
We're going to talk about you in a second, which is a great place to stop because we're almost segueing into your specialist topic anyway. So before we do, I'm just going to get a quick word from our wonderful sponsor.
Have you checked out Hazur Kebab yet? It's your go-to for a delicious lunch, a tasty dinner, or anything in between. Order online to save time and pick up some delicious, authentic Turkish cuisine in just minutes. HazurKebabCafe.co.nz. Dine in or take away at 906 George Street.
Do you like a kebab, Jen?
Oh, I surely do.
Have you been to Hazur?
I don't think so.
A lot of people say that when they come, but it's a bit further out of town. It's just up opposite George Street Normal School.
Right.
And it's
I'm definitely going to try it.
Genuinely beautiful food.
I am vegetarian, but see, kebabs are great because you can have a falafel kebab.
I tell you what,
it's vegetarian.
I'll eat anything, right? But when I go in there, they give me food that I just say, you tell me what I'm not going to order. You just give me something and I'll pay for it, right?
Oh, that's great.
And one of the because otherwise I just eat the same thing over and over because I'm very particular about my stuff. So anyway, Mustafa just literally makes me something, and he came a few weeks back. He did a chicken and falafel wrap.
Right.
It was glorious. Like the falafel was awesome. I mean, obviously it's still not vegan enough or vegetarian enough for you because there's chicken in it. But I wouldn't normally choose falafel. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I don't. But it was absolutely delightful. So yeah, absolutely. If you get a chance, go up there because they are,
sure.
and they're fantastic people too. Now, I want to talk to you about Climate Liberation Aotearoa. We've both got a very good friend in Bruce Mahowski, who has been on the show, friend of the show, who is also part of the same. Yeah. You're wearing it's a climate emergency T-shirt. I've got mine at home. As if I wasn't wearing my suit today, I did genuinely think about putting it on because I knew you'd be wearing yours. And it is a climate emergency. But what we're seeing is not actions that support that very simple sentence. So maybe I'll ask you to give us an introduction as to how you got to be part of this movement and what's made you want to bang the desk and try and wake people up to show for what's going on and what we're doing to our planet.
Yeah, well, thanks, Richard. I've been really interested in politics for many years, since I was young. And I was in the UK, I was in the Labour Party in the campaign against Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, okay, wow.
Sadly didn't succeed. And then when I came over here, I joined New Labour and the Alliance Party and the Union, and was interested in, fair pay, equity, sort of social issues. And I also got involved in the campaign opposing the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, which eventually did get signed, unfortunately. But while working on that, I kind of started to put things together and realised that the issue of the warming climate, what we're now calling the climate emergency, how that is linked together with all the social issues and the justice issues that were concerning me, and that actually they all come from a similar cause. Well, they come from the same cause, and that is the whole colonial, capitalist, neoliberal, if you like, neoliberal economy, which it doesn't only exploit people, it exploits our natural environment. And that's what's causing the harm that we see. And from that, of course, come the realisation that we need to change things. We need to do things differently, and not just piecemeal, but, I mean, we need a revolution.
Yeah.
We need a revolution in terms of how we look at our the way we interact with each other and with the environment. So that's a sort of encapsulated kind of version of, where I ended up in my thinking.
Yeah.
But with Climate Liberation Aotearoa, obviously we are a climate action group, but we're also really interested in democracy and how that has been working, and how we can support people to look at different ways of expressing democracy.
Right. Because it's not working, is it? Like, I mean,
No.
I don't. I mean, obviously, you stood in the local elections. I stood in the local elections. I think we're both cut from a very similar cloth, even though we might have different ways of approaching things. But it was very difficult to get even people to get everyone on that campaign to even admit that it was a climate emergency, and a lot of people didn't admit that there was such a thing as a climate emergency, right? But when you see, but those same people were then talking about the nastiness of the fact that the South Dunedin hasn't been looked after properly, and all these sort of major weather events. Well, hang on a second. That's the climate emergency that we're talking about.
Yes.
There's a reason why those things are happening more often. Is because we're not looking after our planet, and we're not actually, we're not paying attention to what Mother Nature is actually shouting at the top of her voice, in fact, about the fact that these things are happening and happening more often, and we need to do something about it. We can't just sit back and watch, can we?
Well, no, and we can't rely on our national politicians to be doing anything about it either, because, as we've identified, I mean, they're more concerned with looking after themselves and their friends. I mean, and a lot of them already seem to be sort of cutting their losses amongst the general population. Like, they really don't care whether they're popular or not. They pass legislation that 95% of people
seem to
disagree with.
Yeah.
Oh, well, never mind, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So, that's why you probably heard me talk on the at the local elections about people's assemblies.
Yes.
As a way of actually getting together with ordinary people and talking about the issues that concern them and what they would like to do about them, and supporting people then to take action on those things.
And it's one of those things. It's like, but if there's something like a people's assembly, it needs for the people above to listen, and that's what we're lacking. I think that's what we're lacking in government, full stop, at the moment, is anyone that's willing to listen, because they've recently passed the legislation around the electoral rules. So they recently passed that. We've passed that legislation saying that basically you're not allowed a sausage sizzle anywhere near a polling station. They're going to stop the changing. You can't change details, a long time out if you move in, or basically,
making it more
difficult for people, right? And yet the Electoral Commission and the people that are actually on the ground and listening and understand this have come out and said quite categorically, don't do this because it's
undemocratic.
It's undemocratic.
Basically.
It's prohibitive. It's exclusionary. It's there's lots of reasons not to do it.
Yeah.
And they just did it. And then not only did they do it, they passed it under urgency, so it didn't didn't get full scrutiny. And you're looking at that kind of going like, how, and they do it right in front of your eyes. That's the bit that amazes me. It's like, how do we let them get away with it? How is any government, how is any party that's in power able to pass changes in the electoral system that potentially could benefit them and put their opposition in detriment without complete cross-party support of the whole of Parliament? I don't understand how that is even legal. How can it be legal? Like, if
they have a majority, and so therefore they feel that they can do these things.
But that's the bit that I don't understand.
And also, they don't care about public opinion, because as long as they're keeping their donors and their friends happy, well, why should they worry about it?
Yeah, But that's the bit. How are laws set up in such a way that it allows them to do that?
Well,
it should be illegal.
It should. I mean, all this business of passing all this legislation under urgency. There's a lot of critique about that. I don't know if Geoffrey Palmer recently was writing about that. Geoffrey Palmer's a former Prime Minister and KC, an expert in parliamentary law. And I mean, what they're doing, he thinks, is really borderline unlawful. In fact, in some cases, it could go over into that area.
But nothing happens, does it?
But, I mean, it's just a long, drawn-out process to challenge it, because you have to challenge it through the courts.
Yep.
And, by the time that long, drawn-out process happens, the laws have already been passed and they've been acted upon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, this government went against what they had agreed was a cross-party consensus on emissions.
Right.
And then unilaterally passed a law saying that they were no longer going to abide by that. I mean, it just demonstrates that they can't be trusted.
No.
And I do really hope that they get kicked out next time. But, I mean, I don't know. If they don't, we're going to have to think about how are we going to establish something that works for the people, regardless of whether the government is listening or not.
Exactly. And I agree with that, because it's how do we have a situation where any government can ignore the science, how any government can ignore what the people are saying, because they're supposed to be there to govern the people. And if 95% of us are saying don't do that, how do they get away with doing it? It's not easy to legally challenge a government, right? It's not, and they rely on the fact that it's not easy to legally challenge a government in order to do it, But in the meantime, there are things that are happening on their watch, and I look to things like penguin bycatch and Hector's dolphin bycatch, like the yellow-eyed penguin that obviously is on the Otago coast. It's an animal that's extremely endangered. We run the risk of losing mainland nesting for this particular bird. We run the risk of the end of an entire species of dolphin, the Maui dolphin and the Hector's dolphin, because people want to fish. People want to kill more animals and drag them out of the sea and kill them and eat them and stuff. And I've said this a million times. I love fish, right? But I would never eat another piece of fish again if it meant that our penguins and our dolphins were guaranteed the best opportunity to live, right? I don't want to see that extinction event on my watch. I don't want.
Gosh,
you can't get that back. The moa doesn't exist anymore. Well, I think it does. I think the moa's still in Fiordland. Small ones. That's my view. I'm going to go hunting for them one day when I'm old and retired. I'm going to go moa hunting, but not hunting to kill, but hunting to find.
To find. Right.
Just want to make that clear in case anyone comes back to me later on and says, "You said you're going to go hunt moa." But we can't get them back.
No.
No matter what Peter Jackson says, we can't get that back. The Haast eagle, gone. And that is literally within a few generations from where we are right now.
Hundreds of species on the endangered list in New Zealand right now.
Yep.
And we've got an environment minister who has clearly said, oh, well, if it comes down to economics, we can't save them all.
No,
exactly. And we've got Shane Jones saying, oh, well, if it's between mining and the Archie's frog, it's like bye-bye Freddie.
Yeah.
just disgraceful that these people can be there.
How can they be in that position, and how is it even possible that is a thought that is formed and comes out of the head?
I don't know. It's hard to understand that mentality, isn't it? Really?
We're here to share the planet, surely, but we've become the most invasive parasite of all the species that exist on the planet.
Well, I don't think that the politicians are a fair representation of what people are like. They represent a class of people who are greedy and ambitious. But most people aren't like that. Most people do care. They are decent. They do want to do something. Yeah. But they just can't quite imagine what an alternative is going to look like. And most people are so caught up in their daily lives, the stress of trying to put food on the table and pay the rent, whatever. Yeah. It's really hard to give their time and energy to thinking about how can we change society and how can things be better? What can we work towards?
Absolutely.
And I think, we need to support people to find a forum to think about those things and to bring them about, to bring about a future where we're not all stressed 24 hours a day about how we're going to survive, that we've got time with our families and we don't have to be focused on the latest consumer goods all the time, that we can think about the wider natural world that we live in and take some time to appreciate that.
I want to come back to that in a second, but before we do, I'm going to run out of time. I want to get another quick advert in from our wonderful sponsor.
Have you checked out Hazur Kebab yet? It's your go-to for a delicious lunch, a tasty dinner, or anything in between. Order online to save time and pick up some delicious, authentic Turkish cuisine in just minutes. HazurKebabCafe.co.nz. Dine in or take away at 906 George Street.
I want to pick up on something you just said, but because I know there's a couple of things that are happening literally right on our doorstep that you are extremely passionate about. One being the proposed gold mine in Taras, and also the other one's the extension of the gold mine here at Macraes. The Macraes was the ORC came out and kind of went, no, we're not going, and then suddenly changed under pressure from the government, kind of came and changed their mind about what they were doing. But you've been actively involved in the Taras thing, because they were going to put an airport out there as well, weren't they? Has that gone away now? I got no idea. It seems to have disappeared, like from the news.
I think they have withdrawn that.
That's a good thing. Central Otago doesn't need another airport, genuinely.
And the local people were really opposed to that. And there was a group set up called Sustainable Taras.
Yes, I've seen some stuff from them.
Yeah, they're extremely well informed, and well organised, and they're also opposed the Bendigo gold mine, as do the Central Otago Environmental Society. So we've met up with them, and Bruce came up to Alexandra just the other day, and we had a meeting with about 15 people across these groups. To talk about what we can do to oppose that gold mine, because, we just feel that digging up Central Otago, we're not talking about gold mining as it used to be in the old days. We're talking about them demolishing a whole mountain, basically, in order to get out a few ounces of gold. Yeah. So,
and you know what winds me up the most about gold? Is that 25% of gold sits in a dark room, just literally proving someone's wealth.
We have plenty of gold. We don't need to dig up any more gold.
And most of the gold that we've got can be recycled to use that gold again.
Yeah.
If we choose it, but it's easier just to keep digging holes in the ground and destroying natural environment and landscape and go. But that's all right, because I'll put some soil back when I'm done. That doesn't make any sense to me. And we don't need it.
No, we don't. And it's unlikely to bring any lasting benefit financially to Central Otago. Central Otago is actually doing really well at the moment.
Yes, it's one of the boom areas. I saw in the news in the last couple of months about it being, Otago being one of the boom, largest growth of industry and economic thriving over, everywhere else in the country. Sod Wellington, Sod Auckland is actually Central Otago's where it's at, and that's without a gold mine.
So it's an unnecessary thing that's going to destroy a lovely natural environment.
Because if you drive through Central Otago, it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Like genuinely jaw-dropping, beautiful, and they want to, like as you say, literally almost destroy a mountain for the pursuit of a dollar.
By an overseas company who will take their profits overseas and leave behind them a 200-metre deep pool of cyanide-contaminated water, which is then just left for us to deal with.
Yeah, and how do you deal with that? Because
I don't know.
No, neither do I. You know, you're literally
Nobody
creating.
knows.
No, I just don't. I don't get how that can even be a consideration for anyone to say it's worth it. That's the bit that hits me hardest, Jen. Is I don't look at that and kind of go, it's worth it. And then everyone goes, well, look at your phone and look at, you got your phone in your hand. You'd be lost without it. Well, I didn't ask for a mobile phone. Consumerism brought that to me, right? I was quite happy when I had a phone hanging on the wall and an answer phone at home, and I survived then just fine. Like genuinely, I survived just fine. All right, it's great that I can watch YouTube on my phone, right? But if I couldn't watch YouTube on my phone, guess what?
You might be doing something more worthwhile.
it wouldn't be the end of the world. Genuinely, it would not be the end of the world. And I think that's what we're struggling with, is that we are literally like driving headfirst into a disaster that is all of our own making. Yeah, it will be the end of the world as we know it if we don't watch out. It will be, but like no one that's lived. I mean, you're obviously slightly older than I am. I've been around for a few years, but my life was no better as a 8-year-old than my 8-year-old's life was when they were 8. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes. I had equal. I mean, with the advent of clean water and electricity, maybe those are the two most important things. Life has been reasonable. Yeah. We've gone from, we're living in warm housing, right? So those kind of things. When my 8-year-old was 8, well, my youngest was 8, their 8-year-old life was no better or no worse than my 8-year-old life. I don't need those things. I don't need that phone in my hand, right? Oh, yes, it allows us to do a job, but I could do my job with a phone on a desk. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that, in fact, our lives have become more difficult over the last 20 years, 30 years, because they've just become more stressful. Yeah. We've been made to work longer. We're faced with the stresses of modern society are not beneficial, and we're seeing the health impact of those on people. Exactly. With diabetes and heart disease. People are actually starting to live now less long than our parents' generation. What, really? Which is, I haven't caught up with that one. Well, they're saying, and as for the youngsters now, the incidence of non-communicable diseases, and that is things like diabetes and circulatory problems. Yeah. A lot of it through the diet, through lack of exercise, the lifestyle. Yeah. And stress as well. Well, that's a horrible thought. It is a horrible thought. Because I sit here in my 50s wanting to leave behind a better world for my kids and my grandkids and my grandkids. And I'm struggling to see that. When I close my eyes for the last time, I don't know what I'm going to be leaving behind. No. And that genuinely not frightens me, but that doesn't leave me with a good feeling, but the more we kick that can down the road, the harder it gets. Yeah, yes, it does, and that's another thing that governments have been warned about. That's why I think we need to start now getting together as communities and working on alternative ideas. So we've got a couple of minutes. We've got a couple of minutes left, and not very long. If someone's listening to this and kind of going, "Hey, that Richard and Jen are making sense," I'm hoping at least one person is thinking that out there. How do they make a change? How do they get involved? I mean, is it just small incremental things that you can be doing to not everyone's an activist, Jen, are they? Not all of us want to get up and bang the drum. Like you and I do, but not everyone does. But what can they be doing? Well, I mean, I'm sure they can
find things that they can do that they think make their everyday life, less harmful for the environment. But I mean, I would really encourage people to come along and just have a chat with someone at Climate Liberation Aotearoa. Like, we're really friendly. We're not scary people.
You are. I've come and chat to you.
Yeah. And we've got a broad range of ages and backgrounds there. We meet every Tuesday. We're having a couple of weeks off over the holidays, but starting on Tuesday the 6th of January at 6 p.m. in the Matheson Room at Knox Church on George Street.
So if people are listening and they want to come along, they're just more than welcome to turn up.
Absolutely welcome just to turn up
and
have a chat.
Sometimes you have food there as well, don't you?
We nearly always have food at the end of our meetings.
That's what kind of got me over the edge. Like, it was like, and there's Kai, so I'll make sure I turn up for that.
It will be vegetarian.
But
I can warn you that. But no,
okay.
But it will be delicious.
I'd be a vegetarian if someone cooked for me. I've always said that, genuinely.
Yeah, and, we don't push anybody into doing anything. But, if you're interested and you want to know more, just come along.
Just find some information out. Even if you're a skeptic, even if you just want to have your, have your eyes opened, and
you can check out our website climateliberatianaotearoa.org.
Fantastic. Yeah. What a great place to stop. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Hope you have a wonderful 2026, and we'll catch up again as always. But thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Rightio.
Well, that's a wrap for this week. Thank you for tuning in. I've been Richard Knights, and you've all been wonderful. Remember, if you're looking for a robust, respectful adult debate about all things local and further afield, and a welcoming online community doesn't take itself too seriously, come and find What's News Dunedin on Facebook and join our fun. On next week's show, we're talking to Kirstine McClay from Star Fishing for Peace. Look forward to seeing you next Friday at 12 on ORFM, and if you wanted to listen to the show again or simply share it with your friends, you can find the podcast at oar.org.nz or even on Spotify, YouTube or your favourite podcast provider.
This podcast was produced by ORFM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.